What's up guys, today we're going to be having a look at one of the latest watches from a company called Mercer. This is their Durham model. I've been quite excited to review this for the past couple of weeks. I've been testing the watch out just to make sure I can give an honest and thoughtful opinion on it. So without further ado, let's get into the box and see what this is all about. Now as you can see, it comes with a little protective box on the outside. Owner's manual, nothing special, just a few pictures of the watch. This watch does come in a few different colors. This one I'm about to show you is the sunburst blue version, which is personally my favorite. Now it comes in this pretty nice box, kind of what you'd expect from a watch in this price range. And there is the watch itself. Now the first thing you'll notice about this watch is that the size is pretty much perfect for a watch that can double as a formal piece to wear with a suit, to wear with a shirt, or as a more casual piece to wear just on an everyday use. And the reason I feel this way is because even though it's a 41mm, which could be a bit big for a dress watch, it plays more like a 40, I'd say, and it's probably due to the fact that the edges of the watch itself are rounded off, and it's just got a really nice profile to it. It fits really well on the wrist, and it is a really slim watch. So you're not going to have any issues being able to use this as an everyday watch if that's what you wanted it for. Now the first thing that appealed to me of the design that they've gone for, especially as it is on this sunburst blue dial, is the fact that they've left an outer ring in white. I think it just adds so much to the dial. I think it just makes the watch, in my opinion, and it's something that I really enjoy seeing, because it's not something that you see that often, kind of like a chapter ring on the outside of what is in effect a dress watch. Now there's many things that I could mention about the dial. You have a really nice applied indices all throughout. You have the logo and the Durham in what I consider to be quite an elegant font. I mean, I know a lot of you guys probably know some issues that companies like Christopher Ward have had when picking the fonts for their logos. Whereas with the Durham, I think that they've nailed it with the logo and the branding in general. I really like the fact that they've kept the amount of text on the dial to a minimum. I think it just adds to that extra touch of elegance and refinement that you expect out of a watch like this. Now, moving on to the back of the watch, you'll be able to see the STP 111 26 jewel Swiss made movement. Now this is pretty much comparable to the ETA 2824. It's a workhorse of a movement. It's not the prettiest movement you'll ever see in your life, but for this price point, can you really complain? I don't think you can. As you see, the watch has a display case back, and the movement is nicely decorated, conservative but nicely done with the Mercer rotor. And what I really like about this movement in particular compared to the ETA 2824 is that, as opposed to the 2824, which you can get in quite a few, not to say almost all, mid-range Swiss-made watches, what I don't like about it is that unless you get it from a company that prides itself in decorating the movement and just making the movement look unique, you're going to get a pretty ugly looking movement. I consider the ETA 2824, when it's not being finished by one of these companies, say Hamilton for example, I think it's just an ugly movement, or Oris is another good example. I think it's an ugly movement, whereas with this STP movement, the finishing on it is a lot nicer. There's a lot more detail to the movement. There's a lot more, it's just a more refined, elegant look. At least in my own personal opinion. There's people who have their own thoughts regarding the STP versus ETA, but that's for another video. Now, as I mentioned, this watch is quite thin, as you can see. It's got a slight, very slight domed crystal. It looks flat in some angles, but it's not. It does have a very slight dome, and I think it just plays really nicely with the light, especially having that sunburst blue dial. The crystal with the super luminova on the indices and the crystal with the anti-reflective coating are really good, both of them. The luminova will last easily a couple of hours. It's what I'd consider to be 70% plus brightness, and then it probably lasts another 5 hours before dying out completely, which is perfectly fine considering this is, at the end of the day, a dress watch. Now, another thing that I like about this is that even though the bracelet that comes with it is pretty terrible, and I'm going to get into that in a second, even though the bracelet comes with it is pretty terrible, I've tried this watch on a leather strap and I've tried this on a couple of NATOs, and I think it works perfectly. I think this has every bit of potential to be a strap monster. I think it's just a really versatile case shape. I think that's what really makes it so easy to swap out straps, so easy to combine with different straps. So now that we've gone over the positive aspects of the watch, and to be honest, most of the talking points about this watch are indeed positive. I just love the way it looks. I mean, once again, the balance of the dial, the minimalist text, that chapter ring in a different tone with the white plane, with that deep blue sunburst dial, the slightly coloured pale blue seconds hand, the applied indices, the finishing on the case with the different levels of polished and brushed surfaces, that very nice crystal. I mean, there's just so much to like about this watch. I'd have no problem recommending this, and I think that for the price range, this is currently one of the best contenders for a Swiss-made dress watch that you can get for this price range. It is an excellent offering by Mercer, and definitely keen to see what they're going to do in months or even years to come, because as I mentioned, this is a micro brand. They're quite new as well, and they've already released quite a few different models. So now let's move on to probably the only negative aspect about this watch, which is the bracelet. I mean, when you get this watch and you open the box and you look at it for the first time, it just looks so stunningly beautiful, especially this sunburst blue dial. I mean, just look at how it plays with the light. But when you go to pick it up, it kind of ruins the whole mystique of the moment, because the bracelet is cheap. I mean, the bracelet's just a cheap bracelet. It's what you'd expect to get on eBay for $10 or $15. The finishing on it is bad. The insides of the links are sharp, so they pinch onto your arm. It was quite difficult to remove the links. They're just push links, but it was still quite push pins, but it was still quite difficult to remove. It's rattly. It just feels cheap. Okay, it just feels cheap. The only good part of it is the clasp. It has got a solid clasp with a nice click to secure it, and it has the Mercer logo stamped on to the clasp. But yeah, the bracelet itself lets the watch down big time. It just doesn't fit. I mean, I'd like to see kind of like an oyster style bracelet, or just a bracelet with some polish in the links, because I think that would play really well with the different variations between brushed and polished surfaces on the watch itself. Now, just to give you an idea of what I mean by it being a cheap bracelet, these are two bracelets that I have paid under $15 for on eBay. And I don't use them because they are cheap bracelets also, but they're pretty much exactly the same in fit and finish to the one that comes on the Mercer. And then here's an example of a bracelet that came on a watch that's less than half the price as this Durham, which is the Richard Legrand Odyssey 2, and it's just a better bracelet. I mean, it just has very nice fluidity. As you can see, it just has a very nice feel to the links, nicely rounded off, and yeah, it's just a better bracelet, and it's on a watch that costs half the price. So personally, I would have been quite happy to see the price of this watch increase by another $20-30 and have them add a better bracelet, because once again, when you get it out of the box, it does kind of ruin the whole mystique of the watch when you have this thing just rattling underneath it. But besides that, guys, as I said, there's not much to complain about. At the end of the day, you can just swap the bracelet out out and put whatever you want in there. That's not an issue. So there's really not much to complain about, and this is one of my favorite watches that I have acquired this year, that I have made a part of my collection. So definitely recommend you check this one out. I'm going to leave a link in the description for the website. Till the next time,